Chapter 12. False Names. So what? They're still living beings. They deserve mercy too. Caspian from the Forbidden Forest by Lady Flamma. So, we climbed back downstairs and continued training. So, I think that we should have code names so that our enemies would be less likely to learn of ours. It would be most likely when writing letters, so it's not useful right now, but it would be good to have them just in case, suggested Athena. Also, remember what Lady Oniskaya said. Maybe we'll be able to avoid more suspicion if we refer to Pavokit with a different name in public. I still think it's a pretty good idea. I don't want my enemies know nothing about me, let alone my name, Varnka said. I'll be Blue Star. Athena shook her head. I think we should choose rods as our code names. Those are sort of hide in normal speech. For example, if I say that a blue star is coming, it's obvious I'm talking about a person. But if I say storm is coming, it's much less obvious who I'm talking about. She nodded. I see, that makes sense. Then I will be Snow. My codename will be... I thought for a bit. Storm, I chuckled. What if they thought that we were talking about the Grand Duke? I realized what that could mean for him and his family. I'll be Owl, said Athena. I'm going to be Weaver, said Lusélle-Louce. And they will be Flame, Pavokit said. And I suppose you could call me Tmokchi. It could be Mantis, or Shrimp, or Mantis Shrimp, I joked. He sighed. Lusélle-Louce looked at him sympathetically, and Athena frowned. It might be better for us to call you by name and patronymic. And we don't want people thinking we're your fans. It would look suspicious. Oh, then, Mokji Vokovit. What about the Emperor? Varnka asked. Should we give them a name too? Oh, yes, any ideas? We could go as Ash, since that's what Synis means. Actually, Athena said. Athena, no. Lusélle-Louce interrupted. She said. They're resplendent, I said. She gasped. You found the wounds of the nest? I thought it was banned! My papa actually learned how to read so that he could read the print version. He actually used it to teach Varnka and I how to read, but he didn't care much. She grinned. Lusélle-Louce looked terrified of our combined powers. Wonderful! So what do you think of... Athena, please, Lusélle-Louce said. She sighed. As much as I like illegal Paladin and Blaze, resplendence isn't a very common word. I nodded. You've got a point, but ain't that a bit too obvious? It's just the meaning of the name. Yes, but Pavokit also just means little fire, she said. Pavokit looked at the ground. Lusélle-Louce put a hand on his talon sympathetically. I nodded. The point still stands. How about Nulkin? Varnka suggested. Lusélle-Louce and Pavokit frowned. Nulkin? Pavokit asked. A folktale. Nulkin's a horse that lures people out and then drowns them, I explained. Oh. Well, that has the same problem as the resplendence. It does not come up much often in normal conversation, and referencing a Vixic folktale would look a bit suspicious. If we're going to reference a folktale, it should be draconic, Athena said. We all turned to Pavokit. He blinked. What? You're draconic, don't you know any folktales? Varnka asked. He frowned. What is a folktale? We all stared at him. It's a traditional story. Everyone has them, like Zella and the Liorli or Felinka and the Thea. Athena said. Anyway, I've studied a bit of draconic folklore. Varnka laughed. Is there anything you haven't studied? She looked at her blankly. Yes, of course there is. One I can think of is Pamakoya. She's an old mage who lives in the wilderness and eats travelers. No, Synis is a masculine now, while Pamakoya is a woman, but that might work to our advantage. They'd expect Pamakoya to be the code for something else feminine. Also, she's a mage, and Synis is mages. She frowned. Also, they might predict that we protected our expectation. Athena, no, Lusélle-Louce said. She sighed. Fine. So, Pamakoya. Is everyone alright with that? Haruka said. We nodded. She smiled. Wonderful. Then we should get lunch and then go back to training. Lunch was potato soup. After that, we continued training. Unfortunately, I brought up Haruka's history with love again, so she pointed out my lack of friends, so I pointed out her inability to read. So she commented on my inability to talk to people, so I pointed out her lack of stealth, so she threw her sword and we got into a fight, which Pavokit broke up. How do you two avoid this? Pavokit asked the fairies as he held us apart. I guess it's because we've gone through a horrible tragedy that forces us to rely on each other? Haruka said Athena. Haruka frowned. But we have done that. Well, she shrugged. Then I don't know what to do. I hope that we'll be like you one day, not trying to kill each other. You could try not fighting each other over mild insults, said Pavokit. How wonderful, Tol Apollo said sarcastically as he walked on. We're all still here, he said. Well, Minaret Sos. Teach you some magic. He blinked. Me? Learning magic? Yes. What, do you think that just because the Emperor doesn't like magic, no dragons learn it? There have actually been several permanent Occult mages, such as Athena started. Tol Apollo cut her off. No one asked for a history lesson. Anyway, come with me. Don't worry, we've cleaned up our room. It's not cold and wet anymore. Pavokit frowned, followed him out of the room, and the rest of us stood there. After an awkward pause, he said, Athena, I heard something about the Synisans trying to kill Queen Powatina just after Alder fell. Most of them were captured, but one got out. I heard they called him Hiskanyak. It's not much for that interesting, I said. How did they get that much information? She asked. I shrugged. I don't know. An illegal newspaper, maybe? Maybe even a legal one. I know one of Haruka's friends had a newspaper in Vixik. Wait, one guy is La France? She adjusted her glasses. She already has 4, but you don't really count. I know. She has 3 other friends. I don't know how. It's because I talk to people and you read and mess around with wood, Haruka said. Athena and I stared at her in mock disbelief. Is she serious? Athena said. I shook my head. No. She couldn't say that with a straight face. Haruka rolled her eyes, chuckling. Anyway, could Hiskanyak be a nickname for Pavokit? Or does someone's parents not like their son? Athena wondered. I guess both could be true, considering what you said about them. We think they're first, I said. What does Hiskanyak mean? Lusélle-Louce asked. It's an insulting version of Hiscot, like Nia is for us, said Athena. The simplest translation of Hiscot is brush, but that doesn't tell the whole story. It means someone who has not killed anyone. Footnote, brush is the Sylish word for clean. Lusélle-Louce frowned. Why do they have a word for that? Athena shrugged. The learners of Sylish learning about on, old, and ugly, asking themselves the same question. Footnotes, on, amor, and ugly are Sylish words for love. On is friendship, amor is romance, and ugly is a powerful, sacrificial love. Lusélle-Louce frowned. I wondered what those meant. Lusélle-Louce, Haruka and I trained well. Athena read her book until Pavokit returned. Hello, he greeted us. Hello, Pavokit, Haruka said. What are you doing? He sat down by the wall. Training and reading. She responded. What did you do? He fidgeted. Learn protection spells and rope magic. Arachnis is a difficult language. Athena shrugged. It's not that bad. Let me guess. The vowels? He blinked. Yes? Haruka frowned. Sylish and Arachnis are related, right? She nodded. Hi. A grin spread across Athena's face. Lusélle-Louce smiled. Here we go. Athena adjusted her glasses. Now, centuries ago, Arachnia was just a collection of city-states. The most powerful of which were Pan and Miko. One day, Pen and Miko decided that they didn't like being little city-states anymore, and decided to conquer their respective peninsulas. Then, they headed across the rest of the Gizek coast before meeting each other. At this point, their borders would be almost identical to modern Arachnians if they united. Now, naturally, they came into conflict, which started the Metinic Wars. But they were slaves, all one by Pan. They took Miko, and they burned down Miko, took their pocket, and stole their pocket. Which is a pocket that would go on to start many civil wars. Haruka frowned. But Miko's still a city. They rebuilt it later. Anyway, this is when the monarchical period started. Well, there was a monarchy much like Draco before the Iron War. However, Arachne civil wars are not a modern invention, and eventually they got tired of kings and wanted something more like Solis now. This started the Japanese Republic, however that was unstable because power was divided too much, and eventually an Arachno named Lucius became emperor, or tried to at least. He was actually stabbed before he could, but then his cousin Actus did it and started the Japanese Empire. Haruka frowned. What does this have to do with Syl? Listen aside. I'm getting to that. So, Lucius was not just the Arachno who killed the Japanese Republic. I believe I've already mentioned this, but in Arachnia, that it had to be owned, not just inherited. And it's the same in the Japanese Republic. You still haven't explained how Syl and Arachnia are connected, Haruka said. I'm getting to that. The point is that to gain the studies needed to take control of the Republic, Lucius had to become a great general, and he conquered what's now Syl, which was then called Bore, which means a boy who is the spirit of the trees. I know who Bore is. So Sylish and Arachnes are related because an Arachno from centuries ago needed a quick way to get power and decided that the best way to do that was to conquer Syl. Athena sighed. Yeah, basically, yes. Why didn't you just say that? She threw up her hands in frustration. I can't also talking about Lucius. I need to add the context first. Haruka chuckled. Alright. Athena turned to provocate. I heard that the Synisons attacked Arachnia about a month ago, soon after Alder fell. Do you know anything about that? She asked him. I was involved in that, but I didn't want to do it. And I got the first chance I got. He said defensively. She looked at him calmly. I never said you did. He looked down. I am sorry. She shook her head. You don't need to apologize. I am sorry for apologizing unnecessarily. She sighed. You sound like Lusélle-Louce. Lusélle-Louce looked over, seemingly wishing she had been paying attention. So what happened? Athena continued. It's too late. 2 other soldiers and I were sent to Arachnia to assassinate the queen. I am guessing by the fact that the civil war is, as far as I know, still going on, that you didn't succeed. Could you tell me more about it? He said. It was 2 younger soldiers and me. We ran into Queen Fatina and she brought us into a room with pastries. Then soldiers attacked and I escaped in the confusion. Some says they got captured. She frowned. It would have been interesting to see what would have happened if she died. Terrible for everyone living in or around Arachnia, but interesting. Lusélle-Louce. After some time, Tol Apollo decided to teach me magic. I followed him into the dark room. So, you think it'd be better using it for defense and support? He asked. Yes, I responded. Well, let's start off with healing. Athena and Sol are pretty good with shadow magic, so we will do this since we don't have a healer yet. This doesn't mean you can do it all on your own, so if someone is seriously injured, go to the doctor. Alright, I found. Wait, we? You. I smiled. Alright. I already knew a little about how to use healing magic, but I appreciate the practice. We practiced some plans because we did not want to hurt anyone. Well, I wasn't entirely sure if Tol Apollo didn't want to hurt anyone, but I didn't, and I was the one learning. Well, I guess you're right. You're good at this, he said. I can teach you how to make a shield, but that can be draining, especially for a beginner like you. That would be helpful, I said. Tol Apollo was right. Keeping up shears was tiring, and I was not able to do it for long. You should probably get one of the stuffs now. Music's a good way to channel magic, but it's also loud and it takes a long time to master. And you might end up in a situation where you need to be quiet. The sort of that made me excited. Anyway, I still think you should have some way to defend yourself. Maybe water or fire magic would be something you're better at. I practiced water magic, but I still could not bring myself to use it for much offense. I was actually very good at fire magic, just not attacking with it. Unfortunately, this was the main use of fire magic. The others were mostly cooking. Very good. Still not great. You need another weapon. You won't use magic for offense, and everyone has iron armor anyway. What weapons are you good at? Said Tol Apollo. I've started training with a knife, and my archery is improving. Well, if you can use those well, it'll be useful. You may leave now.